Hello, everyone. So far, we have a couple of people popping in. I see Lauren and a couple of others. So just wanted to let you know that if you haven't, we are going to put the Startup Tree sign-in link in there. So we'd appreciate it if you can sign in. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. Whether you're from ASU, Maricopa, or the larger Blackstone Foundation, we appreciate your time. And out in that chat, Bailey just sent our Startup Tree link. So again, please log into that if you haven't already. Awesome seeing so many people joining in today. Again, thank you for joining. Again, we have our startup tree link in the chat. Please make sure you're signing in today so that way we can track our attendance and let these individuals know how much their work means to us. We'll be getting started here momentarily. So if you haven't checked in just quite yet, make sure you're checking the webinar chat so we can make sure we're tracking attendance for today. Again, we'll be starting momentarily here. If you haven't signed in just quite yet, again, we'd appreciate it if you do. The link is over in the chat. Last call for that sign in. Again, we're going to be starting here in the next minute or so. Again, we want to make sure we're tracking this attendance for today again, so we can make sure we're sharing this out with Ebony, T. Shepherd, as well as Ashley. Okay, so I think it's about time. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Emery Ibera. I'm a program manager with the J. Orrin Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute at Arizona State University. Today, we're joined by Ebony Anderson of Speakofth, T. Shepard of Crisp US Thrift, and Ashley Khamphoumy of Disciples Financial Services. And today, we're going to be talking a little bit about entrepreneurship and exploring diversity and belonging in the space that is entrepreneurship. And so we'll start off with the first question. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and your ventures that you have so far. And why don't we start off with Ashley, since I see you first?
Very nice. So I am Ashley Khamphoumy. I run Disciples Financial Services with my husband. I'm a mom to 5 boys. They're 14, 8, 7, 4, and 1. So that keeps me pretty occupied. Originally from Philadelphia, but I've been here for about 10 years. I specialize in life insurance, retirement protection, and asset protection, and also business to business insurance. But my goal, guys, I'm also creative. I do music. I write music. I produce music. I write poetry. So I'm one of those people that's like a little bit of everything, but I specialize in financial services.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ashley. T, I see you up next, so I'll cue you.
Hi, y'all. My name is Shamira Deani Shepard. People call me T. And I run Crisp US Thrift with my partner. Crisp US Thrift is a gender neutral lifestyle shop, and we help our customers solve wasteful and exclusionary industry practices by providing timeless vintage goods. And that results in an authentic, expressive, and empowered community. Outside of that, I'm a DJ. You can catch me at a local Indigenous owned coffee shop. And I like to tinker and work on cars.
And I think that leaves Ebony next.
Well, good rainy afternoon. My name is Ebony Anderson, and I am a doctoral candidate pursuing a doctorate in business administration with a focus in strategy and innovation. I'll be defending it in the next couple of weeks, which is very exciting. I am currently one of the supervisors at Gateway Community College over advising and career services. I am a graduate professor at Trine University in their business and IT fields of interest. Previously, I was one of the assistant directors over cultural connections and the faculty advisor over the Black African Coalition. I am currently one of the sole proprietors for the Collective House, which is a short and long-term rental located in Midtown Detroit, Michigan. I am currently building my portfolio to engage in public speaking forums, just like you see here, where I discuss leadership competencies, personal and professional development, and retention strategies for corporate clients. I'm happy to be here, especially with Black women.
Awesome. Thank you all for kind of introducing who you are, where you've been, and what you've been doing for the last little bit. Now, the next question is specifically for you, Ebony, just because you have a unique experience. Now, as far as it goes, you're in the process of transitioning really out of one major project into the next. So how are you kind of planning to support both, or what is your potential exit strategy at this point?
So, truthfully, my priorities have changed over the last 4 or 5 years. Pre-pandemic, multiple streams of income was a big priority for me. Fortunately, my mother is entering retirement very soon. I am one of the only entrepreneurs in my family, so I've tracked a kind of a lane that no one had before me. So entrepreneurship is a big thing and is a different thing for my family. We really came from a space where make sure you're college educated and you get a 9 to 5 and you allow them to retire you. But I've influenced my mama with a little sauce lately. So she's actually going to be the boots on the ground for the Collective House, where she'll be more on the front end and I'll take care of more of the logistics, AKA the things that she doesn't want to do. But I am finding myself seeking a different alignment. I want to be more intentional and personal about the things that I love, about my passions, about my skill sets. So over the last 2 years, I've presented to BIPOC students, deans, leaders, international students. And so the calling is just following me. And so I've just decided that, I'm in a season of alignment. And me pursuing my doctoral degree, I always say my mother gave me my first name, my husband gave me my last, but doctor is a name that I give myself. And so I really want to take this space and do things that intrinsically are motivated for me and that I think will push our people forward, even in subtle and in informal ways.
And I truly appreciate you kind of coming from that space, Ebony. You've always come at it from an education perspective. And you had mentioned at points, there are times that you're meant to educate, and there are times that you are not meant to educate. It is not your sole responsibility. So we really appreciate you stepping into that role, especially as a leader in the higher education community and as a partner at Gateway Community College as well.
No, thank you. I always say that every moment, may not be one that you need to teach, but you should be learning from it. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. Now, T, you have kind of a different experience coming from the venture devil side of things as a current venture devil and ASU alumni. So how did you get involved in the venture devil program, and really how do you see that kind of impact with regards to the multicultural side of things as well?
We came to Venture Devils track first by way of Local First Arizona's Black Business Accelerator program called WeRise. One of our mentors in WeRise Arizona was also a leader at Venture Devils. And so when we were linked together, she encouraged us to put together our pitch deck and then to pitch via Venture Devils Pitch Playoffs, which I believe the portal submission is open right now for folks who are looking to get into it for this season. We were winners and recipients for spring 2021 and fall 2022. Currently, I'm in the Venture Devils Accel program, and that's one-on-one entrepreneurship development with a few of the mentors there. And I'm super grateful for everything that I've learned, and then to be tapped into a network of folks who are like-minded and also dealing with similar business struggles and successes.
And I know on top of it, you're active in the arts community as well. I've seen you out at events, so I see you doing a lot of boots on the ground work as well. How do you see that kind of impacting the experience that you're curating?
It's a fun blend of worlds. So as an ASU alumni with a degree in anthropology, bioarchaeology focus, and ethnic studies minor, I get to utilize my love for people and storytelling to create an archive of fashion archaeology. So I feel like I'm pioneering in this lane to include queer folks, non-binary folks like me, meeting people in the community who aren't able to dress how they want to, express how they want to, use the name that they want to use, and really fill that gap of humanity that a lot of us are looking for post-pandemic.
Awesome. I truly appreciate it, T. As a queer higher ed pro staff member myself, I find the work that you do really impactful, and kind of verbalizing it, I find it's really unique. So I'm glad that you're able to kind of convey that and let us know really what matters to you and kind of why it matters to you. Now I want to jump into Ashley's comment that she'd made initially as she was kind of introducing herself. As far as it goes, you've mentioned a little bit about your family and how much it's made an impact in your kind of structure as a business, and really how it's helped you grow as a business. So do you mind telling us a little bit about that as a personal experience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, family is everything. I came from a big family. My grandmother had 10 kids. I have 4 brothers and 1 sister, and then I have 5 boys myself, right? So college educated, I also graduated from ASU. I started out at Penn State, and I always knew, just like Ebony, I came from that family structure of you go to school, you get a good job, you get good benefits, and you let them take care of the rest, right? So when I started my entrepreneur journey, my family was just like, girl, you're detouring from the code, right? So family was a huge part of it. 1, because you need that support system. And 2, it was one of those things of learning, how can I blend and collaborate 2 different worlds, right? So it wasn't a matter of trying to make them fit into my box of entrepreneurship. It was, how does your skill set apply to what I have, and how can we best support each other? So, and then when it comes to my children, I knew, hey, I might not be born a millionaire, but one's going to be birthed from me. And the best way to do that is entrepreneurship. We need education. College is very important because we must be educated and we must be in certain spaces. But when it comes to truly creating wealth, entrepreneurship is the way. So for my family, I was like, if I try to battle the battle of education and traditional job or entrepreneurship, it's an uphill battle. Nobody's going to win, right? So I allowed them, 1, to have space to come into my space and bring their skill set. And I just allowed myself to bring whatever skill set I had to them. So it wasn't a matter of either or. It was how can we blend these worlds and make it happen together. For me as a mom, I've been always very intentional about, hey, if I have 5 boys, I want to show up for my 5 kids. So working a traditional job just wasn't going to allow me to have that freedom and the income that I was looking for to support our lifestyle. And one, you have to be proof of concept. You have to show the example. I wanted my children to know, hey, if you choose to go college and get a job, there's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm not the example that this lane also works, then they'll never believe it. So it had to be me showing up for them in that way. And then also, let's be real, sometimes it doesn't matter how perfect you are or how great you do it, your family's not going to be on board. So coming here from the East Coast, not knowing anybody, I was also very intentional about, I'm going to create my own family. Family is not always your blood. It's the community that you create around you, right? So if you feel like you're one of those people that, hey, maybe your family's not on board with what you do or your lifestyle or what you're trying to accomplish in life, it's okay. Create your community, create your own family. It doesn't always come from your bloodline. So it's a huge part of what I do. A lot of the people that we work with come from backgrounds like me, where maybe they don't have family or they're not from Arizona. So we're our own little family here, and we all blend our roles together, and we support each other. It's really important to be in an environment that cultivates your growth and supports where you're going, not who you are or where you've been, but where are you going, and making sure you have those people around you.
And I truly appreciate your conversation around generational wealth and giving your children access to kind of that kind of life that you're looking for. As far as it goes, I know as someone who's kind of actively pursuing that, you mentioned ASU community, and you've recently started kind of jumping into some of the spaces, first meeting us at Mirabella at ASU, which is a great lifelong learning space, but then also learning about our place space innovation spaces and learning that there's spaces here at ASU that can house you and your business and make it a much more feasible future. So I do appreciate your open and willingness to kind of come in, connect with students, and really push forward on the boundaries of your business. Now, wanting to throw it out to all the panelists, what have you learned along your entrepreneurial journey that was essential to helping you grow as a Black entrepreneur? I know that you might have some specific examples.
I'll go. Put yourself, guys, like put yourself in a position to be helped. Like Emory just mentioned, him and I connected over the summer, and when he was telling me what he was doing at ASU, I've always been very vocal. Like, hey, Emory, this is what's going on. This is where I'm at. Who do you know for this? What do you know about that? Put yourself in a position to be helped. Especially us as Black entrepreneurs, is so important to make sure that you're finding a community and that you're finding a place that's going to support you. Like I always tell people, have you ever seen somebody like on the side of the road? And if you see somebody just sitting in their car with their blinkers, nobody's going to pull over for that person. It's very rare, right, that somebody's going to pull over for that person. But if you see somebody outside of their car and they're pushing that car down the street, people all of a sudden want to engage. They want to get that person to wherever it is they're trying to go. So as an entrepreneur, specifically an entrepreneur as a person of color, put yourself in position to be helped. I always tell people modesty gets you nowhere, especially in entrepreneurship. Be vocal about what you're doing, be vocal about the things that you need, but also be conscious and be intentional about providing value to other people as well. So as a Black entrepreneur, I never just come with like, hey, what can you give me? My process is always, hey, this is what I do. This is what I have to offer. How can I bring value to you? And in the interim, what do you know? Which ways can I connect you and which ways can we connect each other to make our thoughts move forward? So it's not a me or a you, it's how can we collaborate? Collaboration is your key word in entrepreneurship. So find the people who are aligned with you, who like what you do, and have spaces for you to offer it. That would be my advice, especially as a Black entrepreneur.
I was going to build off of Ashley because one of the things personal for me is understanding my value as a Black woman. I've had to get to a point where they're gonna have to pay for all of this. I know the value that I bring to the table. That's no longer negotiating. A lot of the times I would negotiate my value. So when it was time for me to present myself, I was already in the state that I was negotiating who I was, even though I knew what I was bringing to the table. So I'm no longer in the business of convincing people of the fruit that I bear. That's the truth. Respectfully is get it or get lost. But I was not like this 4 years ago. I encourage every woman. I know that we have men on here and non-binary folks, but I do want to specifically women, Black women, you have to know your value in these spaces, especially predominantly white ones, if I'm going to really tell you what it is, because it's already a conversation that's going to be had before you get into the room. And I've noticed that. And because I have had white allies and I've had people that really did care about me as a person, care about me as a business owner, have let me know, listen, conversations are happening before you enter to the space. So it is important to know who you are. It's important to understand your value. It's important to know your cost. It is so many times. Just recently, I was in a conversation for a consulting firm, and they told me what my starting rate was. And I said, this is not even going to be a good conversation. They said it's $75 an hour. I said, no, you double that. It's $150 an hour. And so I already knew that if I was someone else, someone different, they would have asked me what my rate was. This time they told me. And so it's very, very important for Black people that are in spaces that do not look like them. Most spaces do not look like me. That means the conversation I need to have with myself is in the car. I need to tell myself, listen, Ebony, who are you? What are you going to represent? Because a lot of the times they're going to tell you what they think you are and who you are and what they position your value to be. But if I'm the person with the answers, how are you telling me what my value is? So one of the things that I want to really build on what Ashley said, and I've taken notes from T and Ashley already, and we're only 20 minutes into the conversation, is that you have to understand your value as the entrepreneur. Every work hour you put in, every production, every research, every Google, every social media post, everything, anything that's in your mind, even the intangible things. A lot of the times we don't count the intangible moments because at the end of the day, it's just a product. But there are a lot of things that happen intangibly to get to that product. Please understand your value.
We truly appreciate you, Ebony. Again, you are a star amongst all. You really do try to push the boundaries as far as it goes. I know that pushing the boundaries is one of your favorite things to do. So again, I love the hard truths because again, we want to challenge reality and really make sure that everyone hears what your stories are. So again, we truly appreciate it. Now we have a couple of questions that are actually coming from students. One of our students specifically actually had come up with a couple of questions. So how do you maintain cultural authenticity within your businesses? And how has that worked with your clients?
I'll go. I am unapologetically Black. I don't hide that from my clients. I don't hide that from people on my team that I'm training. And it doesn't mean that because I'm Black that I'm it's in spite of or despite of anything else, right? The diversity that I seek is also the diversity that I offer. But I'm very genuine and authentic in my approach. And I'm very honest about saying, hey, there are people in my communities who do not have financial education. There are people in my communities who are not forward thinking when it comes to actually creating generational wealth and legacy. We like to say it, but we don't know the work that goes behind it. I don't hide that. Be authentic in your approach no matter what. People will appreciate it, even if they don't necessarily come from the same background, same race, same ethnicity, same values as you. Be authentic as yourself and don't be afraid to show up as that person. Because people will believe it and they'll go into that. That's what they're going to buy into, you know. So I'm very honest with people where I'm like, hey, if you need help with this, I'm here to help you however I can, but just letting you know that my primary focus is elevating my community and educating them on these topics because we need it, because we're the ones who are way behind. So I'm like, hey, if you're aligned with that, if we're together on this, hey, jump on this train, we're going to move forward. But just letting you know that my flag says I'm here for all Black people to win.
When I think of culture, I believe the question was cultural authenticity. When I think of culture, I think of learned practices and behaviors. That's an anthropological definition. We have to learn and unlearn a lot of things coming from an academic space and going into an entrepreneurial space. Things that may be true in books and in text might not be true to you based on barriers and access points, language being one of those biggest barriers. So being willing to maybe learn another language, maybe your customers or maybe your clients or maybe just folks you need to talk to quite literally speak English as a second language, and being willing to be humble and say, oh, wow, was I considerate? Was I really inclusive to the space? Are blind people able to come into my space? Are deaf people able to come into this space? Are Black people able to come to this space? If this is a fashion store, are plus size people ever able to shop at the store? Are transgender people going to feel comfortable in this space? And maybe that's not your mission, but going to what Ebony said is like knowing who you are. And if I call myself an inclusionary, a person of the people, a person for the people, that means not only do I need to know myself, that means I need to be humble enough to be able to be called in too. It's like, hey, I didn't feel welcome in this space. My wheelchair won't fit. All right, cool. That means I'm not just about to open up this store in this location without considering that because someone said, hey, my wheelchair won't fit. That means my location, that when I own a property, it needs to be wheelchair accessible, regardless of laws, regardless of standards, because laws reflect antiquated times. What I'm dealing with right now is the place that I play music and vintage records and my company supplies the stereo equipment for is currently under attack for their support for Palestine. And it's like, there are laws against that. What is and what isn't a hate crime? And if this was just a predominantly white space, I don't think this conversation would be happening. But since this is a Black and brown space, can you show support for this? Can you say we are for that? Can you put a gay flag in the window? Can you say we need transgender accessible bathrooms? And being able to stand on your business is privilege. So making sure you're including those people. If you say you're inclusive, you know, like you gotta show action to back that up too.
I was just going to build a little bit on what T said real quick. Just a quick example. Last week, Friday, I had an all-day international session. All of the students were international. And one of the students flew from Korea. Like I was her first American lecturer. And my husband was also in the room. And at some point, she had to come and approach me about something. And I said, yes, let's talk about it. She said, I have YouTube. I have social media. I have done so much looking to see who are you going to be today. She said, I have all of these ideas. This just happened. That's why when we talked about learned behaviors, it's important. It's a responsibility that we are culturally authentic because we are the example everywhere we go, even if we don't think we are. I'm just teaching in a Tupac shirt and some slacks. And I realized she had something to say to me. And she's like, I was so nervous because she knew who she was getting. She knew she had a Black instructor. And she said, I just did so much social media and so much research, and you are not what I expected. And she didn't have to go any further because I understood what she expected. And I said, now you know better and we can just do better. And she said, thank you so much for that. And she bowed. So that's just an example of being cultural authentic. Is not like an asterisk. It's a responsibility. It comes with the job. It comes with the job because we are debunking myths all over the planet every single day. So thank you for that, T.
And I appreciate, again, calling out the humility it takes to kind of be humble and come up and say that you've messed up and really being kind of willing to be approachable about that. Again, it's not easy, but it's not always something that, again, we're fully aware of. So again, thank you for kind of coming into that space. Now, the next question from our students was, how is mentorship, particularly from people who share your identity, how has that influenced your entrepreneurial journey?
I don't know if we all pause for a reason, but I'm gonna jump in. So someone asked me this a little while back, and I don't know if I ever had a formal mentor. And that's probably a part of the problem, okay? Because this is just not a thing in our community where we're understanding what wealth is, entrepreneurship, small business ownership, all of those things. But I do want to say that I do learn lessons everywhere I go. Life is my mentor. And I want to tell you about one example. One I keep close to me is my first job at McDonald's. Okay. I was 15, 16 years old, and I thought my supervisor, who happens to be a Black woman, took her job way too seriously. I mean, that was my thought. Every time she would say something, I said, she really do take this job too seriously. But as I get older and I'm building my leadership competencies, I find myself 35-year-old self. Thank you. I know I look good. Thank you, mama. But I find my 35-year-old self going back 20 years and learning the lessons that she taught me. Lesson 1, she said, you have to respect other people's time. They may be on their lunch break. They may only got 5 minutes, and you have to respect their time. And then the second thing that she taught me is that I can contribute to someone's day being better or worse. Imagine if somebody using their last $2 for some fries and it's cold. And I keep remembering that because I'm understanding my contribution. Sometimes, right, we find ourselves in stories that we're the villain in, and we didn't mean to be that. We didn't mean to do that, right? And so one of the lessons I've learned from her is to hold yourself accountable and understand what your influence is on other people and respecting who they are and the time that they give you, because they don't have to give it to you. So I don't know if I had ever a formal mentorship, but every time I think about this question, I always go back to my supervisor at McDonald's. I do owe her some flowers. I roll my eyes way too often when I was 15. But right now I can tell you that I built a lot of my leadership competencies based on the conversations she's had.
I have a lot of mentors, and via Venture Devils, Local First, We Rise Arizona, there's so much access to mentorship and advice and networking. And I think it is a huge blessing. And I encourage anyone who is able to get into those spaces to make room for, growth and that uncomfortability of not knowing. I will say I have never had a mentor that is a Black, queer, non-binary, non-gender conforming person. So that I haven't seen myself fully embodied in any spaces. And that's okay, because I can be that person by me learning on this journey where I'm at. In the future, somebody's going to ask me, and I get to decide what mentorship will look like. What is that relationship, going to look like, and how to responsibly engage with folks in that capacity. So don't let it scare you if you're the only one. I was born and raised in the East Valley of Arizona. So I've been that only one for a very long time. It's not always comfortable, and it's not a badge to wear either. Like, it's super important to, once you're able to, get into spaces with folks who can see you. That's very important. It's just as important as, getting your finances in order and, making relationships to bankers, to have real conversations with folks, sit down, to be a person, to get your humanity validated, to not be in academic and entrepreneurial spaces. It's super important to find that balance.
To add to Ebony and to T, what they said is so important. If you have not experienced having a mentor in the space that you're in, be that person. Make sure that you're doing the work within yourself to be that for somebody else. It's very important. I've had the privilege of having mentorship, whether it was through the music scene, or even right now, and building out my financial firm. It's very important because mentorship is a way of having proof of concept, right? So if you don't have that from someone else, you need to be that person. It's changed my life in ways that I can never even imagine it before I had it. Just like Ebony said, find those lessons in different parts of your life where you might not have known that's what it was at that time, but reflect on it and learn from those things. If you don't have a mentorship, life is the biggest lesson, it's the biggest mentor you can have. Just like Ebony said, there's lessons in every single thing, but it's changed my life. I mean, we hear it all the time, representation matters, right? Especially in these spaces, because we don't see it often, and it can make you feel like an island. It can make you feel like an island, and it's really hard. I know for me, being in financial services, one of the biggest things is, like I said, proof of concept. So my first mentor in the space, who was a woman, like a Black woman, I'm very, if you haven't figured out yet, very like straight to it, very like raw, right? So I remember having lunch with her and she's just like, you can make six figures in a few months here. And I was just like, that's BS. I was like, I don't believe that. And I didn't understand that I had a financial blueprint problem. And she was like, no, you can. And I was like, well, show me your bank account. And she showed me her bank account, right? And for the first time in my life, I saw a number that I never knew was possible in savings. Not in your transact, not in your checking account, but in savings. And it literally was a paradigm shift for me. Like I felt like it was an outer body experience because it dispelled, like just like T was saying, sometimes you have to unlearn and relearn. It dispelled years of generational stuff of believing that that wasn't available to me, or that, like Ebony said, that wasn't part of my value system. It wasn't something that I had access to as a Black woman holding the space. So mentorship is not just about somebody teaching you how to do a certain skill set. It's also them teaching you how to navigate and lay a path for the next person. So mentorship is so important. It's changed my life. And the music scene is part of your belief system. Like I said, it's part of your proof of concept, but it's also part of your blueprint and your foundation for the people who come behind you. It's not just about what you're going to get, but it's what are you creating for somebody else. So again, I can't stress enough, if you don't have that right now, seek it. It's okay. Look for it, or become that person yourself, and look for the lessons in ways that you normally wouldn't find it. When Ebony shared it, I was like, oh my God, that's so true. It's to this day, like there's certain things that I'm in a moment in my 30s, right? And as a mom now, where mentorship, even as a parent, when I go back and think about things that my grandmother said or my mother said, and I'm just like, that was a moment, that was a lesson, right? And I wasn't ready to receive it in that moment, but now where I am and my parenting and in the journey of entrepreneurship, I'm ready to receive it. So sometimes mentorship might not come in a traditional way, like you think, like, hey, you have these meetings and one-on-one with a person. But I promise you, if you reflect and you go over some moments in your life, whether it was school, different jobs you've had, different encounters you may have had, even with strangers, there was a lesson there, and there was something to help you grow and have a paradigm shift in your life.
I truly appreciate hearing the validation still coming from this conversation. I know that you mentioned that you're kind of finger snapping at Ebony. Again, validation for me is a huge key component about being in this space, but it's so difficult to come by. So it's truly awesome to see all of you being able to build off of each other. Now, what's one piece of advice that you might give an ASU student who's going through their entrepreneurial journey, if you had to give them one piece?
Rip the Band-Aid off. Rip the Band-Aid off. Go for it, and don't allow yourself to believe that just because you don't have it all figured out, that it's not worthy of a chance or a try. Go for it. There is somebody out there that has what you want to offer. And there is somebody out there that just because you don't have the pieces, they do. Like, one thing I'm a big believer in is, don't come and lay out all your weaknesses to somebody. Nobody cares. Many times they're happy that you have them, right? Go and talk about what you are good at. And you're going to find people in these spaces who are not good at what you're good at, and that they have something that's just another piece to your puzzle to growing a bigger picture, right? Just start. It doesn't matter if you're starting is just writing the concept down on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter if it's just recording it to yourself to hear yourself speak. Start somewhere and rip the Band-Aid off, okay? Like, procrastination and fear is the biggest killer of everybody's dreams, especially as entrepreneurs. Go for it. There is no perfect way. Like, if you want to know the secret, there's no perfect way to be an entrepreneur. The cat's out the bag. Like, just go do it, right? Go talk to people. And if somebody is not on board with what you are trying to offer the world, don't waste your time trying to convince them. It's okay. It's okay to not be perfect in your pursuit, right? So if somebody is not on board, don't allow them to take up negative space in your mind and create doubt and worry in your life. Move on, wish them well, rip off the Band-Aid, and continue along your journey, because I promise you, the more you step, the more you just take a little step and a little step. Ebony take me back, but one of my professors used to say to me all the time, how do you eat an elephant, Miss Khamphoumy? And I would go, what? I would get so bad, right? How do you eat an elephant, Miss Khamphoumy? Oh, one bite at a time. Oh, one bite at a time. So now, even like, maybe it's the mom in me, but when I'm really in a moment where I'm just like, oh my God, can I do this? Because we're human. That doubt's going to come. I'm just like, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. One bite at a time. One bite at a time. Guys, rip off the Band-Aid and just first create space for yourself to be authentic and true to yourself. And then start finding like individuals. I promise you, they're out there. just rip off the Band-Aid and go for it.
I would say take care of yourself. I know that that's not the fun answer that people want to hear. My experience with ASU was very tumultuous and not super great for my mental health. Overall, well, as an undergrad student, it was not very cute. However, you know, I persevered or whatever. So you do have to like prioritize waking up in the morning, affirming yourself, celebrating your small wins, having patience. All of those things is not just going to be one day you know, file for LLC, the next day you're a millionaire. Maybe it will, but it didn't happen that way for me. And like it might not feel that way. So your first customer, like remember those small things, like the first time you get a web domain, the first time you get a mentor, the first time you're accepted, the first time you're rejected. It's like all of those little tiny bites, like Ashley was saying, are something you can remember and look back on with grace or with celebration. So just being patient and graceful with yourself is really important.
I wrote that down, T. Self-care. I forgot all about that. I'm like, that's not even on the list. So thank you for saying that. This may also be unpopular, but I think chasing the bag is very low vibrating and is draining. You need to invest in your craft. You need to do it right. You need to not take shortcuts. You need to hold yourself accountable, right? You need to know how to cheer for yourself when the applause stops, because it will. It will. And so when you are able to understand yourself and position yourself and why you're doing it, let that continually be your why. And if your why pivot, be okay. Someone asked me, when can I change my mind? Anytime you want to. And a lot of time is that we're afraid to change our mind because of what other people are saying. So we will walk a path that we know is inappropriate for us. So I ask you to invest in yourself, invest in your craft, do it right, take the steps. Don't look at something and say, you know what, that's a blueprint for me. If it's a blueprint for you, then why would you do it other than what someone else can do? You have to find your voice in what you do and how you do it. But I also, above all else, like I said, hold yourself accountable. I always tell people, if you got problems, and this is where we got to talk to Miss Ashley, if you got problems managing your funds in your personal life, that means, you know, in your business, it's going to be real transferable, those skills. If you're not organizing your personal life as a business owner, you ain't going to be organized over there. You know, if you're not really good at contacting people back in your personal life, professional life, emails are going to go on red, customers are going to be unseen. So it's really holding yourself accountable, knowing where your strengths are, knowing where your opportunities are, and knowing that you're in it because of something. Don't do it just to do it. And a lot of people do it temporarily and it costs them so much. So I ask you to invest in your craft, do it right, don't take no shortcuts, and always clap for yourself. You're doing something that other people don't want to do or can't do or shouldn't do or whatever that looks like. So you always got to make sure you clap for yourself, especially when the room get quiet.
I super appreciate that. I will say I'm going to open it up to any of the individuals in the audience for any questions. I know we currently have one in there, so I'm going to go ahead and read that out to y'all, and then I'll also put it in the chat if you want to reflect for a moment. So during the COVID and Black Lives Movement, I saw my business. A lot of people just didn't understand what was going on with Black community. Did any of you experience this and see a decline in your business because of it? And how did you get over the hurdle of the divide and still standing for what you believe in?
I want to jump on this one because who remembers those black squares on Instagram and Facebook, like after George Floyd, and we all decided to post a little black square that meant we are here for Black people. And hashtag Black business, hashtag everything Black. And a lot of allies wanted to show their badge of allyship and receive their cookies for being an ally to Black people. That definitely brought an influx of attention, followers, folks wanting to see what's up. And I definitely wouldn't describe it as a decline. But I would say it was an opportunity for me to determine what's my authentic message and then stand on that. That gained a lot of attention, and don't let what other people are doing determine what your true calling is. Whether people are posting that they like you, whether they're unfollowing you, you got to stand in your foundation. And I had to stand in my foundation when the black squares disappeared, when folks moved on to the next thing, when that support wasn't there for Breonna Taylor, when that support isn't there for all the folks it is today, but we're not seeing it on TV. It's like, be there for each other. And panels like this are super helpful too, to be in a space of other Black entrepreneurs who are affirming themselves, and as we affirm each other, like, it's gonna be all right because we're here. It's all right. There are Black people in the future, like having those affirmations. So yeah, don't really focus on what other people are doing. That's the quickest way to feel bad, in my opinion.
And kind of just echoing what T said, I remember during that time I had a t-shirt on that said minding my own Black business. And someone asked if it said minding their own white business, would I be offended? I said, no, that would be you minding your own business. It's very important for us to understand that we can coexist and still make room for ourselves. And when times happen, because there are influx when people care about people of color and then they don't. It's sometimes it's trendy and sometimes they don't. It is up to you. That's where that cultural authenticity comes in, that you remain constant. And a lot of times is that even in this Black folks, yeah, I ain't gonna like this part, we also are sometimes inconsistent with the messaging. So a part of that, when you're jumping on the train, I do a lot of research before I jump on anything, even if the people look like me. So it's also important for you to be your own advocate and research appropriately before you do enter a trend, because as an entrepreneur, you are the face of your business.
And it looks like we have one other question for the crowd, and it's, what questions do you have for each other as panelists?
So can we connect?
right. I'm like, so could we be friends in real life? But one thing I just want to at least tell Ashley and T, first, being sustainable, I didn't start recycling, and my husband is on here. I didn't even know recycling was a thing. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I did not think or know recycling was a thing probably until 10 years ago. And that's honestly. So to see you in that space, T, it brings me light. Also with that is that I didn't know about my money like I needed to until about 10 years ago. So actually seeing you in that space is light for me. So I don't know if I have any questions, but I feel empowered just to be in the space with you, because sometimes I feel very alone. And this is just, just confirmation that we're far in between, but we are never alone.
I'm like Ebony. I'm like, friend, where you been? Nobody knows me like you know me, right? So more than anything, my questions are, how can we grow this outside of here? I work with a lot of young people, especially people of color. I would love to have both of you guys as guest speakers, just to shine your light in those areas. Just like Ebony was saying, I'm like, when T was speaking, I'm like, I didn't know this existed. I had no idea. Being like she said, being from Philly, I'm just like, okay, how can I push your movement forward? What education stuff do I need to put out there? Who can I send your way? Like, this is so important that people have this space in this area. And Ebony, phenomenal speaker, gems after gems after gems. Like, look at this. I couldn't even like stop writing, guys. So I'm just like, okay, that I feel so empowered in your presence. And I'm just like, how can I get more people around you? Where else can we hear you speak? Where else can we tap in? It was just incredible being in such a space with such beautiful Black people, and other people who just wanted to be here and encourage and support. Like, guys, this was hard. If you're like Ebony and T, like, this wasn't around when we were coming up. So it's just like, especially in ASU, when T said that, I was like, I feel you. It wasn't there. I opted to be in classes online because it was no space, I felt like, for us, right? So just how can we further push this forward? How can we connect? And just super grateful. Thank you, Emory, for even bringing this to light. Like, I'm very grateful just to be in the space. So thank you guys.
So I know we're coming close on time. So as far as it goes, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we'll have the last question. And it's, what's your business plan 5 years out from now?
5 years out from now, I will have a remanufacturing studio that's open for marginalized people to come in and remanufacture their clothing, whether that's tailor something that's vintage and made for a cisgender white male body based on its patterning, and turn that into something gorgeous for them, as well as see about how I can open up stores nationally and internationally of secondhand and repurposed goods. I'm also in community with folks like Ebony and Ashley, and we are affirming each other in public and in friendly conversations, checking in to seeing how we're doing, making sure we got all we need, because we are what we need, and, you know, having a heart full of gratitude.
Next 5 years is expansion. The name Disciples Financial Services came to me in a dream, funny enough. But my vision is to take ordinary people and do extraordinary things. So in the next 5 years is expansion throughout the United States, hopefully outside of the United States too, and spreading awareness on financial education, especially in low income neighborhoods where they're not going to get that information, where nobody's knocking on their doors. I want a whole movement. And I'm already enrolling classes as far as like Mommy and Me financial literacy for single parents, or Daddy and Me financial literacy for single parents. So having different courses and classes that speak to different niches like within this community, and just spreading the word. Like, I just want to get the financial education out there as much as possible, because it's life altering when you have the right tools. So that's the next 5 years, expansion.
The constant group chat that me and Ashley are going to be in for the rest of our lives. Because I have so many questions, and to be honest, I just got to ask y'all too. I can just, stop Googling half of the things that I have to do. But I think in the next 5 years, I would like to be on an international tour. I'm hoping like in the next 6 weeks, hopefully I'll be Dr. Ebony, and then I will have a published piece of work, and that just adds to my credibility. But I do know that public speaking is a gift of mine, and just really personal and professional development, and really allowing people to reach their higher self, whatever that looks like. But for them to be a decision maker and a stakeholder in their own life, and for me to give them tools that maybe necessarily they didn't know that they already have. So I'm hoping to be on tour. I'm hoping that, I could still have, maybe not a traditional 9 to 5, but I can still do even teaching, because I love teaching. I realized that. I told my mother is on here too. So, hey, mama. But I remember she was a teacher, and I said, I'm never going to teach. And then I became a teacher. So I think that teaching is just in our blood, and just when you know something, you just want to push it forward. So I hope I can do that in the next 5 years.
Awesome. I super appreciate, again, having you all speak with us today. Ebony, Ashley, and T, you've been fantastic. I have noticed a lot of people have been asking how they can connect with you. So if you don't mind quickly sharing out the best ways to connect with you, websites or whatnot, I know that everyone would appreciate it.
You want us to throw it in the chat? Maybe we'll throw it in the chat.
So if you want to speak about it, go for it. I know we have some of the links already on the back end to make it easier for y'all.
Okay, so I'm She Speaketh on Instagram. It is @SHE, and Speakofth is definitely, urban how I spelt that, SPEAKTH. So I would love for you all to follow me, DM, and then a lot of my ASU students have my phone number. But Emory always know where to find me.
And we just shared out your link tree.
Emory, give Ashley and T my number. I really mean that. Okay.
I was gonna say yes.
Definitely
Please make
will.
sure we're in a we connect, please. I put it in the chat, guys, but my IG is Ms. Visionary. Easiest way to contact me. If you message me on there, I'll send you my number. I'm always right now, thanks to Emory, I'm in the downtown Mesa space, the co-working space. I'm literally here every day. Like, just come here. I'm even here on Sundays. You'll see me and my kids. We're here, right? So just come tap in. I would love to meet any of you guys face to face, but if nothing else, just hit me up on IG, message me, and then we'll connect from there. T, please, and same thing, Ebony, please send me your numbers. Thanks.
Perfect. Well, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. Again, thank you all for coming in today. The last thing that I want to throw out there is just a re-mention of the Venture Devils application deadline. That is going to be on 2/25 coming up here shortly. If you have any questions or concerns while you're going through it, feel free to send me a quick DM through Slack, whatever channels you have, or you can feel free to email me at emery.ibera@asu.edu, and I'll happily look over them with you as well. Thanks.
We should have Nina Simone playing us out. Anything from Nina
I
Simone.
know.
That would have jazzed us up a little bit, Ems.
My apologies. I didn't think about music. I
No.
will say I would have had to have asked Bailey for some help on that one.
No, thank you, Bailey. Thank you, Emery. This was wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. Thanks for stopping on by. And again, if you have any questions, definitely send me another quick email or a text. I know you're all too close for comfort.